All right, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the last session for the day. And before we do that, here's some context for us to consider. The pace of innovation in recent years and the all-pervasive nature of AI are all indicative of the unprecedented growth potential it holds for our country. Various segments of industries are contributing to it, and academia is not far behind. This session is a testament to that. India AI and 10,000 Startups bring you the first edition of Lab to Market, an initiative aimed at bringing the cutting edge of artificial intelligence from academia, which is geared for enterprise consumption. This is a program that will showcase the best AI solutions from academic labs across the country. With that, I introduce you to the moderator of the session, Asna Siddiqui. Asna heads the National AI Portal of India, a central hub for everything AI in India and beyond. She works closely with the National E-Governance Division to help realize the potential of an India AI community through the portal's many AI resources. Asna, over to you.
Thank you, Praveen. Hello and welcome to all those joining us today for India AI's maiden session of Lab to Market, a particularly important session to my mind that will give you a peek into the innovation that is happening in academic labs around the country. The session is going to be 60 minutes long and we'll see presentations from 3 shortlists out of more than 40 applications that were received in a short window of time. We have with us an eclectic panel of industry experts from diverse backgrounds. They will help us evaluate the solutions that will be presented today. I'll go around the table and introduce them to our audience members. Mitesh Shah. He began his career with Mandhana Industries Limited, an apparel manufacturing company in 2001, where he handled various projects, including the company's IPO in 2010, and its exclusive global licensing deal with Salman Khan's Being Human brand in 2011. He joined Ola as CFO in December 2013 and played a pivotal role in the evolution of one of the biggest startup stories in India. Then came Book My Show in 2016, where he spearheaded the finance function and played an active role in strategic business management. With his vast experience in the startup world, Mitesh co-founded IPV, Inflection Point Ventures, in 2018 to mentor founders across early stage startups with smart capital. Welcome to the panel, Mitesh. Next, we have with us Dr. Sunil Kumar Gopala. Dr. Gopala is the Director, Data Science Ericsson Global AI Accelerator, Bangalore. He's a recognized AI thought leader with 16 plus years of industrial and research experience in machine learning, deep learning, analytics, Internet of Things, and automation. He's one of the top 10 data scientists in India for 2019, recipient of Zinnov Technical Role Model in Emerging Technology Award in 2020, and ACM Distinguished Speaker. He's a qualified independent director from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. He's a co-chair of industry engagement in the IEEE Bangalore section and speaker in top AI forums. He's an alumnus of IIT Roorkee, IIT Bangalore, and IIM Ahmedabad. Great to have you with us, Dr. Gopala.
Thank you, Asna.
We also have with us Kritika Murugesan. Kritika is currently the director of NASSCOM 10,000 Startups. She oversees the operations of the NASSCOM Startup Incubation Program across the country and leads programs to help build and grow startups in the country. She also works closely with various state governments to build the ecosystem for tech entrepreneurs. Thank you, Kritika, for lending us your support to this program, and welcome to the panel. And completing our panel is Mr. Kapil Bardeja. Kapil is a postgraduate from IIT Delhi and a serial entrepreneur with a track record of incubating and growing technology companies. He has co-founded technology startups in the past and specializes in academia-industry interaction and technology transfer. Kapil brings a wealth of experience as a senior business leader with over 15 years of experience in sales and marketing and developing computer vision and electronics-based solutions for the security and surveillance market. Presently, Mr. Bardeja is handling bigger responsibilities as a CEO and co-founder at Vehant Technologies and looks after the overall business strategies and operations of the organization. Thank you, Kapil, for making the time.
Thank you.
So before we start, I want to quickly reiterate to the panel that we have 3 presenters getting slots of 15 minutes each, comprising 8 minutes of presenting time and 7 minutes for Q&A with the panel. If we have time, then we may also decide to take questions from the audience members. Now, without further ado, let me introduce our first presenter, that is Dr. Abhinav Dhal. Dr. Dhal is an assistant professor at IIT Ropar and lecturer at Monash University, Australia, and is associated with research groups working on human-centric AI. The solution they are presenting is Sachet AI. The AI solution is aimed to detect and mitigate the loss caused by distraction due to intoxication at workplace and social places using AI. Dr. Dhal will be joined by his student Vineet, who is the research scholar at IIT Roorkee. Over to you, Dr. Dhal.
Thank you, Asna. Namaste and hello to everyone. So let me start with a quick fact. So according to a survey by a US-based insurance organization, it was found that 1 in 10 millennials find it very confident to drive after they are highly intoxicated. And that's a bigger and bigger issue when we look at India as well, where people will drink and then drive, and then we all come across this really, news of people getting injured and so forth, damages happening. So what we have here today is Sachet AI, which is essentially aware, and this is a solution which Vineet and I have developed at IIT Ropar. And let me bring you through what is Sachet, what is the motivation, and what we are doing to prevent the injuries which are there happening across the country, around the world due to intoxication and distraction. So this is an artificial intelligence-based software as a service and on-device distraction and intoxication detection engine. So what we have developed is a proof of concept, which can tell that if a person is intoxicated and is distracted. The focus areas, the verticals here are essentially B2B, where we are looking at ride-sharing apps and workplace safety, and then B2B2C, which is essentially looking at health and well-being. Now, we all are aware that India has the highest number of accidents happening annually, and a major contribution to that is coming from the people who are intoxicated are either not aware that they are not ready to drive or are actually distracted. They could be using a mobile phone, or they could be looking at something else while they're driving. Now, the formal problem statement is as follows. We would like to detect if a person who is either driving or is in a workplace operating a complex, expensive machinery, if he or she is intoxicated and or distracted. Now, the aim is to come up with a solution which is modular enough so that it can be computed on a mobile phone itself, such that the privacy of the user is maintained and the person can easily use this as a solution. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the verticals are both B2B and B2B2C. So the system can all be computed on a cloud, or one can run it on their respective mobile phones. Now, we are all aware that in India, we have so many drunk driving cases, but this is not just an India level problem. We see that in the US as well. So annually, there are 10,000 deaths every year due to drunk driving. And it has been estimated that in the US, there is a loss of $44 billion due to deaths and later what the severe injuries which are there. So what we are doing here is we are exploring how computer vision, machine learning can be used to understand the state of the person who is planning to drive or is going to operate a machinery. Now, why computer vision and machine learning? So we all know, right? Vision, machine learning, these are facets of artificial intelligence. If presented with the facial movement of the person, the eye information and the speech, we can try to map the general indicators which a other expert would judge a other person being intoxicated. And what we have done is, as you can see at the bottom of the slide here, let me see if we have moved to that slide. Okay, now we have seen. What we have done here is, so a user operates an app that's on the bottom left, and the app on the phone captures the facial movement and the speech. By facial movement, simply, if you look at me right now on your laptop computer screens, I'm speaking, so there is facial change happening. Now, what is observed is when someone is distracted, when someone is intoxicated, their facial movement structure would change. So essentially the pattern will change, right? So this pattern that is analyzed either on device or on the cloud. And this is actually handled by the Sachet deep learning engine. So it is trying to look at the patterns which can tell that this person has a particular intensity of intoxication. Now, if we further dive down of how we have created this solution is, we collected data which is available for research purposes over the internet. So fortunately for us as researchers, there's a lot of data which is available, which people would self-record themselves after they are intoxicated and then will try to, do certain tasks. What it means from an artificial intelligence perspective is simple, that one can learn these patterns which can differentiate between a person who is sober and a person who's intoxicated. So after we collected the data, we worked on different type of deep learning architectures which could capture the subtle differences between, let's say, a person who's highly intoxicated versus someone who is, in the sober state. Now, the design of the solution has been kept in mind the limitations which are there of the current existing solutions for intoxication state detection. The common solution is that there is a device where a person would blow in, right? Well, the issue is that's invasive. Second, it is, given the COVID situation, it's not really safe to use. So any solution which can be added to an app wherein the app is only looking at the data of the person, not only makes the system safer to use, but also it can drive down the cost as well, simply because all it requires is a mobile phone and an app which is installed. If I further compare this solution with the commercial solutions which are available, well, there is amazing work which is happening at a startup called iGaze. This is out of the US, who have been looking at how are the eye patterns, essentially pupil dilations, when people are intoxicated. Then there is a whole lot of work which is happening in the US. So there's a consortium which is looking at the systems which could be installed in future cars for detecting intoxicated people. So this is essentially the driver alcohol detection system for safety. Now, compared to this, Sachet is not focused on installing a system within the car. See, there are amazing systems which are already there in ADAS systems, which are looking at the driver for distraction and for intoxication. Sachet is designed for a person to self-assess their state before they go for driving. If the system tells that this person is intoxicated, then similar to how we have in map apps, there would be a suggestion, why don't you use a ride-sharing app rather than driving yourself? Now, the same is applicable from a workspace perspective as well, wherein if a person is distracted and looks to be intoxicated, then a page would be given to the supervisor, and he or she can then look into the situation before any damage is done.
Dr. Dhal, your time is nearly up. If you can please wrap it up.
Yep. Okay, thanks. Now, we have tested the solution and we have already done a peer-reviewed international publication. For the future, we are going to port this into an easily integratable API and make sure that there is a small network footprint when we run on a mobile phone. And given our expertise in generation of data, we are going to add data representing different ethnicities. The limitation is certainly this would require extensive testing, would be requiring validation from experts, especially experts of substance abuse. And it has to cater to different type of environments where people are, since there could be background noise in speech and different illumination in the camera. So that pretty much summarizes this system. I am happy to now discuss.
Thank you, Dr. Dhal. Can I request Mitesh to go first?
Thank you. So Dr. Dhal, very, very noble idea and commendable progress over here. I'm looking at the number that you gave, around 88% accuracy. Can you explain a little bit more? So is this going to be a solution which will be on the app of the police? So let's say in a situation where police today are using those inhalers where you're able to kind of identify this. Is this going to be an app which will be available with a cop on his mobile and use it on the driver and then kind of recognize whether he's intoxicated or not? What's the flow? Can you just quickly explain us what's the flow? And second, obviously, it's in our genes to ask what's the monetization model? What what's the whole commercial model around this?
Certainly. So the intent to have this engine on a mobile phone is that people can use it themselves, and it can be given to law enforcement agencies and also to de-addiction centers as well, because the doctor would like to have a more day-to-day kind of observation of the patient. Now, with respect to the monetization aspect, there again, since this engine can be run as a SaaS service, so that would mean that if any agency uses it, it would be pinging to the cloud API, and the monetization would be per request. So per validation of the user. If it is in the mobile phone one, then it has to be the app-based cost, which the agency which would be asking people to use will have to bear.
Okay. So, let's say a user using it himself, I didn't get that use case properly. If I'm intoxicated, I know it for myself. What is the use case over there? And second related point is, when you are talking about giving it to law enforcement agencies and plan, what is the plan to acquire users over there?
Right. Okay, so with respect to the self usage, it is simply giving an app which is on the Play Store. If I want it for myself, if I know, for example, today I in a gathering I could be intoxicated, so that's for self moderation as well. The other one is reaching out to law enforcement agencies and the medical experts for them to procure this solution and then deploy within their workforce, so that they can then test users or people who are on the road probably at a given point.
Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you.
Now, next, I would like to request Dr. Sunil to put forth his question if he has any.
Yes, it's an interesting application, Dr. Dal. I have two questions. Impressive numbers to see in industry. If you see precision of 0.85 and recall, will be really impressed in a real application, right? So I know you are in a POC stage at this stage, but how much is the real data you used as of now, and what is the plan to acquire the next set of data on this?
So the current data for the POC, it has over 10,000 data points, which have been mainly acquired for Caucasian subjects from channels which are on social media platforms such as YouTube. Going forward, the plan would be to acquire the data locally by collaborating with the medical institutes.
Interesting. So that localization is also a very important factor. And then in your, I think Mitesh also asked the workflow point of it, right? It is good to start with the model. Yes, we already reached it there, but the main problem in industry, what we see is, how do you localize at the same time generalize it, right? So, and then in real world, with keeping all the noise around. So it may require some retraining, and you have talked about the app related one, right? So suppose you built a model now, and do you have plans to think of the retraining aspects as well?
Right. So with respect to, I'll first touch the localization and then how we are going to, retrain on for the app-based use case. So one is acquiring data from local users. The other is based on a smaller set of data which is acquired from the local users, we would be generating data as well, given that we have a substantial expertise in generating newer data. So that should take care of the different ethnicities and the very wide diversity which we have across our population. And secondly,
maybe using the GANs, some kind of a GANs, is that the
GANs and autoencoders and so forth. Okay. And with respect to the retraining part of the mobile phone app, see, if it's a low power device, not a flagship device, then certainly the request will have to be sent onto the cloud. Or if the privacy is an issue, then we only analyze, let's say, not the vision part, but the speech part. Mm-hmm. So going forward, we will actually be seeking inputs from the end users of how they think the data and the usage would be, and that would then lead back to how, let's say, the retraining or the usability aspect of the solution would come into the a better shape.
Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question. So between Kritika and Kapil, if any of you want to ask the question.
Yeah, I can go ahead if Kritika is fine. So I have just two quick questions. When you said 10,000 data sets, how much is test data set? How much is the training data set?
Right. So for the data points, we usually try to keep a 70 to 30 kind of split. However, in this case, we went for n-fold validation so that the solution generalizes.
Second is more like an observation because we work with traffic police a lot and we sell these enforcement systems. And I kind of agree to Mitesh and I please take it positively as a feedback. So expecting a person who is drunk to open an app and figure out whether I'm drunk or not is difficult, and then pay for that is going to be a real challenge for you on a commercialization side. But on the other hand, law enforcement will be very keen to take these things and pay money for that. And you can actually charge them one time or whatever, recurring, whatever is a business model. So probably that would be a good way to go. And of course, as Dr. Sunil said, it has to be validated across lighting conditions and ethnicities and stuff. So I think that would be a interesting thing. So yeah, all the best.
Well, thanks for the feedback.
So with that, we conclude our first presentation. Next up is Dr. Surya K. Pal. He's a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at IIT Kharagpur. He's joined by his students, Ayan Banerjee, Pravanjan Nayak, and Debashish Mishra. The solution is low-cost, real-time machine vision-based Industry 4.0 solution powered by artificial intelligence techniques for metrological and quality inspection. Over to you, Dr. Pal. Dr. Pal, you're on mute.
Yeah, so good afternoon to all of you. So how to open the slide? Do I need to go to the, can you just share the slide? Please?
They're already on the screen, Dr. Pal.
But I can't see that one. Yeah. Yeah. So, this particular solution, we have made it for the, mainly for the MSME sector for real-time quality check of the product. So as per the technology readiness level, it's already ready solution. We have tested it for a large number of cases. And the novelty of this is the system is that, it's our own algorithm, optimized probabilistic, the GAN model that we have, the created and we have patented as well. And these particular solutions would be, that can be used by a large number of, the sectors, industries, for the quality check. Just for example, the automobile, glass manufacturers, smartphone manufacturers, and so on and so. So, the problem with the industries as in terms of the dimension check or the quality check is that the industries need, of course, each and every product has to be dimensionally accurate and high quality so that it possesses the high quality. But at the same time, it has to come up with a very high production rate. So two, the very strong objectives. One is high production rate. At the same time, each and every product has to be dimensionally accurate. So, if you look into the, the present, the way the manufacturing industries check the quality, it's very difficult to get everything done on real time for each and every product. So they do the sampling. So in a batch mode, they take up some jobs and they check it, and based on that, they take a decision. So as a consequence, we have seen and I've experienced after discussing with large number of industries that either the jobs are getting rejected based on the even though they are not sampling, or maybe accepted even though they are faulty. So if you need our industry, they need the integrated solution, specifically the MSMEs, so that they come up with a real-time quality check of the product. So our the problem definition is that how can we leverage the artificial intelligence tools to solve this problem? So we came up with a low-cost vision system for acquiring the image, and then we implemented the AI/ML model. We came up with the statistical analysis and also created a GUI so that it can be very easily implemented at the industry level. So now, how does it work? So, we captured the image of the job which is getting produced by using the low-cost camera webcam. So, because we wanted to keep the cost as low as possible so that it can be easily adopted by the MSMEs. And then once we collect that image, we know that the quality of the image is not up to the mark. We could have got it by good quality camera, but we want to leverage the potential of the AI tools, and then we they analyze these the existing tools on the they used on the data, and then we analyzed and found there's some sort of a the agreement, and then we started working on the AI model. How can we come up with our own solutions to make it the better, and the accuracy is close to 99%. So then once the image quality is augmented, then we extracted the features of these the processed image, and from there we correlated what is the job quality, and that correlation or the futuristic insight has been given through the GUI. So if you look into this, compare the existing solution as compared to our solutions, most of the cases it's an offline. Manual intervention is very much needed. Think for any object which is very intricate and large number of features has to be checked, then only solution is the manual intervention, and that too by using the coordinate measuring machine, the CMM thing. If you want to do something, this sort of measurement, you have to take it to the measuring place, and then only you can get it done. And most of the cases, the solutions which are available as of now, they require large number of the data set. So they are not very much the robust as well, and also involve costly the equipment. So as compared to all these, we analyzed all these features and we came up with our solutions: real time, no prior data set, AI based techniques, and low cost solution. I'll give you an example of that one. You see that the images, this is an image of the wheel rim of a passenger car. The top one at the leftmost, it is taken by the webcam, and just below that it is taken by a relatively the good quality the camera. If you can very easily appreciate that the quality of the image is not that good. Knowing that, we wanted to work on the AI based techniques to augment the image quality, and after iteration we came up with almost the same quality as we have achieved or as we have captured by using the high quality camera. Then we tried to find out what are the extracted features which can be correlated, and through GUI it is presented. This has been tested for not only for the passenger car, the rims. It has also been tested for large other cases, other type of the products. Now, for a particular rim, one rim, you can find out that you can appreciate that there are different objects are there. Here the 10 types of the holes. So we need to check what is the area, we need to check what is the radius, we need to check what is the alignment. So each and every feature you need to check it. Now as you start measuring each and every feature of an object, then it is a time factor comes up. So we have for the different types of the samples, we have seen that which particular the hole has not been properly manufactured, whether it's accepted or rejected within the given tolerance. So the highlights of our solution is that complete AI based Industry 4.0 solution, and it eliminates the use of the expensive image acquisition. As I mentioned, that it has been acquired through the the low cost camera webcam, and it does not need the large database, and it also saves the huge amount of the time as compared to the the manual the intervention. And of course, industry needs the accurate solution. So our solution is close to 99% for the objects that we have checked. Now, the commercial value of this AI solution is the potential sectors. You can appreciate that any component, wherever the quality is to be checked. In fact, every industry does need to have the quality check of their products. So we mostly worked on the automobile, the products, but it can also be the glass manufacturer. In fact, we have tested also for the glass, like what are the scratch. Just behind the mirror, you need to put the mercury, the coating, and then what is the quality of that coating. If you want to check the intricate the features of the smaller objects, specifically for the the smartphone. So this sort of solutions can be very easily implemented. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, the technology readiness level, it is not in the academic, the TRL 3, it is much beyond that. Now it has been filed as a patent. Industry has to come forward and then take it these sort of solutions and go ahead with that. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Pal. That is indeed an ingenious solution. Congratulations for that. Shall we start with Kapil to ask the first question?
Sure. Sir, interesting solution. Sir, how is it used actually? You take a webcam and you take a picture of an object, or is there a setup where you have to put this, let's say, a piece of rim or something?
Yeah, can we? I mean, we have sent you a video. Can I would like to request you to just show that video. That would be wonderful. Yeah. Can we just display that with the video? Yeah. You see, this is a conveyor belt. Only different types of the objects are passed through one by one. It is stopped, and on top of that, we have put the webcam. It is capturing that image, and it is doing that analysis. And after that, the robotic integration has been made. If it is faulty, it is kept somewhere, and then if it is not faulty, then it is stacked somewhere else. So in this way, different types of the objects. Now what we did is that we did it for the wheel rim, but the wheel rim, it was a static, because the wheel rim, as you know, that it's a large object, and our conveyor belt is the smaller one. But for that conveyor belt, we have taken another type of object. Here it's a spanner. What different types of the holes are there, different dimensions. And we purchased, I think, 7-8 spanners and then we intentionally induce the faults on the features, and then checked one by one what is the how much fault it is actually, it is acquiring, and it is prescribing whether it is accepted or not.
So sir, is it a single camera solution?
It's a single camera solution. Yeah.
So it can basically look at holes and dimensioning, right? Not like depth differencing, for example.
Pardon?
If it's a single camera solution, it can just look at holes and the dimensions of the holes. Probably not look at the differences in depth in case the object is not properly made.
Yes. But we are also working on the working with the Tata Motors, like one of their problems. We are we are using it, like they check the dimension of the chassis of a car. So it's a huge the dimension, if it is a truck, then it's quite long. Then the single, we are capturing the image, spanning across that the object, or at the same time we are also working on the multiple the camera and stitching the image and get to know. So as of now, it is the the 2D the dimension can be very easily checked, and these solutions can be, most of the MSMEs, they need a very small simple solutions. So this sort of things has been proposed for them.
Thank you, Kapil. Can we move on to Kritika to ask the next question?
Thanks, Asna. Professor, and I'm sorry if I've not understood this rightly, but I think I'm not very clear on why not use pre-trained machine learning models? Why only real time? Any particular thing? Maybe I've not understood that. So could you help clarify?
The thing is that you can do it, but you see that when you come up with some the other models and all, then you'll be needing large number of data set. So acquiring the data, and if you want to change, let's say if you want to use it for some other jobs, then again you have to do that experimentation, largely acquiring the data. So acquiring the data, faulty data, sometimes it's not that easy job. So for that only, this sort of solution has been proposed.
Dr. Sunil, I see.
If you have more data, of course, you are the data means you are rich. So if you have more data, so you are in the positive side. And but gaining the data, acquiring the data, faulty data, the inducing faults and all is a real challenge. If I get it, I'll be more than happy.
Sure. So Dr. Sunil, would you like to pick up the next question?
Yes, I have one question. So so right now I see the good application of one camera and then maybe using this rim kind of a thing, right? I'm just thinking from the generalization solution point of it, because when we see from the manufacturing, it may be at a car level, or it can be as a small product, be it a kind of a soap, kind of a small product as well, right? So what kind of challenges you foresee to expand it further with multiple cameras, or maybe the same solution do you think will work with without the traditional way of what Kritika is asking, right, on the data and all those? Let's say you have the data, but even without the data in the real time, is it really possible to scale up the solution? I'm coming from the scale up angle.
Yes, yes. Actually, I was listening to your these sort of questions to the previous speaker, and that's quite obvious, in fact, the generalization and all. So, the for the MSME, or let's say that I've given an example of the the smartphones. The criticality is that the intricate feature, the dimension check of the intricate feature, and there the precision of the manufacturing is mostly concerned, and there you will get the lot of rejection. So I mean, I will not say that this is the medicine for every disease, all diseases. So it is as of now, it is for the intricate job for the MSME people, and this is a very simple solution and all. But if you'd like to, as we are now experiencing while checking the dimension of the chassis, we are also experiencing that the single camera and that webcam is not sufficient, because it has got a definite certain focal length. Beyond that, unless you can capture the image properly, the boundary of the images can be properly identified, then you can't measure the dimension. Ultimately, it's a pixel identification, and then pixel to pixel distance identification and all. So you have to have certain restrictions. So this type of product, if you look into the test cases that I've shown, one is that the glass product, that the defect identification of the mercury, the imperfections given during the coating of the mercury behind the mirror, at the same time the the wheel rim. So it is pretty large. If you think of the generalization point of view, it is pretty large. But beyond that, of course, I need to have multiple camera, and then integration. At the first question, what Mr. Kapil has asked, that whether the third dimensions can be the captured or not. For that, definitely you have to have a separate camera to capture the depth of that. But as of now, it is for the intricate job. Large number of where the intricate job rejection rate is very high, and you try to appreciate that the accuracy level is 99% for this intricate job, which is pretty high. So for those cases, just by simply engaging the webcam, I can identify what is the level of defects, and I can go ahead with the product. So starting from, again, I'm concluding with that sentence which I started, that it is from the intricate object to a fairly large size object.
Thank you, Professor.
We have time to squeeze in question from Mitesh as well. Mitesh, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Impressive solution, Dr. Pal, Professor Pal. Congrats. And two questions. One, what's the problem statement that we are solving for the industry over here? I mean, what prompted you and team to come up with this solution? What's the precise problem that you see in the industry today, which is not catered by anybody else, which prompted you to come up with this idea? And a question in similar breath is, what's the competitive landscape today for solution like this?
Yes.
There are a few other solutions also available. There are a few substitutes available. How do you claim this to be superior or solving something which the other solutions are not solving in the market?
Yeah, first thing is that how did I get triggered by the, how did I get the motivation? On February, I'll tell you, take a 1 minute time. February the 2nd, I visited a company called the Skipper close to IIT Kharagpur. So they are basically the manufacturer of the transmission line. Now, transmission line, it's a very mechanical, the component. It has got, the features like the different types of the holes and all. They don't check it. It's a 1800 crore turnover company, but they don't check it. When they take it to the, the on-site and start fitting up the, the one component over the other, doing the assembly and all, they find a lot of rejection. Then they requested me, can you do some these sort of solutions? Then immediately I started working on that. During the pandemic only, I did it. And after that, I reverted back to them. But, the industry in India, industry and academia, they move in parallel paths. They never converge. Very few places we find that they are working together. So they didn't revert back to us. But we thought that this is a real industry need. Let us now work from the macro size object to the smaller size of the object. That's why we have taken the glass painting, the coating thing. And then we found out, initially we got that we implemented. Now I'm answering gradually to your, the second question. Then we thought that what are the existing solutions available? What sort of, the algorithms are available and all, and how much accuracy they can give. Then we tried each and every solution that is, available today. Algorithms are available today on AI base. We analyzed that one. And I have got the entire report with us. And then we found out that where is that lacuna in terms of the calculation time, image processing time. The more the intricate the solution you are proposing or posing, so it will accumulate the more and more time. So then we work on the time. So one is that accuracy aspect. Another trade-off is that how fast you can do it. So we worked on those two aspects and came up with our own algorithm, which is the optimized, the generative adversarial neural network, the OPGAN model, which by the students Ayan Banerjee, Devashish Mishra, and Prabhanjan Nayak. So they worked on that. They came up with that solution. I am a faculty. I don't work.
I'm afraid we're out of time. Thanks a lot, Dr. Parth. We move on to our next presenter, Madhav Raj E. Madhav Raj completed his PhD in Indian Institute of Science.
Ma'am, can I leave? Can we leave now?
We'd like to request you to stay back for in case the audience members have any questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you. So Madhav Raj has completed his PhD from Indian Institute of Science. He is currently the co-founder and CTO of India Speaks Research Lab, which aims to bring his laboratory research work to the market. His AI solution is voice-first interface for mobile apps in Indian languages. He's developed a voice-assisted grocery application, which is in Indian English, which is a fusion of all their products, which contains ASR, TTS, NLP. This application helps the users to order groceries using voice commands alone. Madhav Raj, over to you. You can get started.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the introduction. Hello everyone, and welcome to this talk on voice first interface for mobile applications in Indian languages. So this is a solution where we propose that everything whatever you do in a mobile application can be done by speaking some commands, okay, rather than going and clicking and searching and so on. Okay, so for this we have used our in-house developed speech recognition systems and text-to-speech and other natural language processing algorithms, which we have developed ourselves. So right now our products are in demo stage, and it can be made available for any language and for any business, and we can customize it accordingly to the business needs. So the thing is, since each and every business has their own set of vocabulary, their own set of data, and their own set of databases and products. Okay, so there is a lot of customization that is required on a traditional ASR or TTS or chatbots or NLP, so that it will be more accurate in delivering the business needs of a particular customer. So the problem which we have identified is the disparity in consumption of AI. So most of the people who use AI products like Amazon Alexa or Apple Siri are from tier 1 cities. Okay, so if you have to extend to the rural parts so that new businesses can acquire more customers and they can retain more customers, it is possible only if you can penetrate it to the rural parts of India and tier 2, tier 3 cities. Okay, so and most of these cities are populated with semi-literate or illiterate people. So the only medium of communication for them is through voice. Okay, so voice, if you're providing any service through voice to them, then they'll be a bit more involved and they feel a bit more connected. Okay, if we can give a personalized experience to them. So that is why we have come up with our solutions to develop everything on our own and then integrate it to some business. So this is our unique selling point, where we how we propose our solution can be integrated into any business. Okay. And similarly, we are also working on chatbots to automate customer care services. Yeah, almost every one of you might have faced, okay, in calling customer care and having a long waiting time and to speak to the customer, and then in the middle the calls might drop. Okay, so here what we wanted to do is we'll take some specific intents, so that, okay, 70% of the time, okay, if a business has a call center which addresses only these kind of queries. Okay, so we can have a process flow such that, okay, everything can be automated, so that, okay, you just call the call center and the chatbot answers everything in English or any preferred Indian languages. So that is our second product, along with the voice first interface. And for this, we have collected a lot of data from almost 2000 speakers, and we have built our own database and data processing pipeline, and we have used that to build our own, neural networks and recurrent neural networks and so on, to do speech recognition, speech synthesis, and so on, according to and we customize this to a certain business, and deliver it to the end users. And from the end users, again, during the deployment, we'll collect more data from them, and we'll fine tune this our models and architectures, so that it performs better. Okay, and for that we have used um, our patented algorithms, where there are some problems which are specific to languages when you compare to English. Okay, like agglutination and inflection and so on. For example, okay, one of the problems which we are working is the infinite vocabulary problem, where with a single verb alone, in any one of the Dravidian languages, if I take, okay, I can form around 5,000 words, at least 5,000 words from a single verb. But in case of English, okay, you can frame maximum 10 words or something. Okay, so that is the complexity of Indian languages, and we try to address those issues specifically, and that solution can be incorporated in speech recognition, text to speech, and POs tagging, parts of speech tagging, and lot more. Okay, so these integrated solutions these solutions are integrated and then put into our product, so that we provide a voice first interface as well as chatbot interface, which are high accurate. And these are I explained that thing, okay, where we cater to the specific problems of the Indian languages and work on that to deliver our end product. And we have ASR TTS for 4 of the Indian languages, and we have due to the data sparsity problem, we have worked only on English right now for the NLP modules, and we have plans to extend it to 10 more Indian languages in the next 2 years. And with our 15 years of R&D experience only in speech recognition field and machine learning, okay, we'll hope we'll be able to do it, and we cater to at least 8 business segments, including healthcare, e-commerce, entertainment, and so on. And we are in talks with some entertainment industry like BBNL and so on. Okay, so they and Grofers to adopt our solution into their products. And so the demo which we have developed is a voice assisted grocery application, where you can just speak the product which you want to search, okay, and you can tell, okay, I want 1 liter of Gold Winner sunflower oil or something like that. Okay, so it updates the weight, it automatically it searches, it recognizes words, and then it does some intent recognition and so on, and it fetches the products and lists it in the application. And if you tell, okay, I want to add this product to the cart, remove from the cart, and go to checkout, and so all these basic intents are developed, and we have integrated into our application. And this application was developed in our own hostel room with our monthly stipend and so on. Okay, we have collected ourselves and all these things. Okay, so without any financial support, we have developed, and this we are planning to extend it to banking technology also, where we have some intent. Okay, hello.
Yeah. So, Madhavraj, would it be possible for us to look at the demo?
Yes. It's in the last slide. Okay, I've mailed you the video demo video.
Hello everyone. Let me show you the voice assisted grocery application demo. Ice creams.
This is what we have found for you.
Let me try to add this to the cart. Add this to the products list.
Successfully entered this item to your cart list.
Let me try to add some other products.
Madhavraj, I think that helps our panel members get the idea. I just wanted them to take a look. Can we start with Dr. Sunil to ask the first question?
Yeah. It's a good application, Madhavraj, because we know your intent to extend this application to the rural area also, right? We have seen the pandemic situation and the penetration of these Big Basket or Big Grocers and all to the Type 2 and Type 3 cities as well, right? So application-wise is good, but the main challenge we see in Indian languages is one is the vocabulary you are talking about, other one is the noise-related thing, right? So are you talking about how do you really, and the accents and these different languages when you're talking about? English is much more mature compared to the Indian languages. So
yes,
how do you want to handle that part?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the thing is, I mean, as a part of my PhD research, it's completely focused on Tamil. That is my mother tongue. Okay, so I worked on Tamil alone, and we were able to solve most of the problems. That is the agglutination and the inflection problem. And regarding the accent, we have developed our own lexicon that is to convert any word to a sequence of phones. Okay, so if you talk about the accents and the dialects and so on, if we have that pronunciation model ourselves, then we will be able to have multiple variants of how a word can be pronounced. So we have developed that model, and it works at an accuracy of around 94%, the ASR alone. And it is good. Okay, so and we have and our lab also has a sponsored project from Government of Karnataka, Department of Kannada and Culture, and we have extended the same application for Kannada as well. And even there, the accuracy is around 90%. Okay, since we have not collected that much data for Kannada, so the accuracy is a bit less. Okay, but when we do I mean, when we have to cater to a wide range of dialects, okay, we also have thought of having a data collection pipeline so that we collect data from across every nook and corner of the state, so that we'll have a rough idea of, okay, this is what the vocabulary which is used and so on. So the solution which we integrate is both technology wise as well as data wise. We collect relevant data with the accent and dialect variation, as well as we incorporate those changes in our codes itself to model the lexical information, so that we handle this.
Thank you. Thank you, Asma.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Shall we move to Kapil for the next question?
Yeah, I actually don't have a question, but I think, Mr. Madhavraj, if you're confident that the technology works very well or can be made very well, the next thing you should be doing is to raise a lot of money and hire a lot of researchers, because the problem we're trying to solve is very complex. Yes. And there is a real need for this problem. I mean, we all know that, beyond a certain million people people cannot speak English here, right? So I mean, all the best. Raise a lot of money and hire a lot of good researchers.
Yes, sir.
And do it fast.
Yes, sir. Last month only we started our startup. I mean, we have registered our startup and we are in talks with some venture capitalists. Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to.
All the best. All the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Kritika?
Yeah, thanks, Asna. Madhur was very, very impressive. My question was more on, you had mentioned about 15 years of R&D experience in this, in one of your slides, right?
Yes.
Could you just elaborate on that a bit?
Yes, right from my BTech, okay, I've been working on speech recognition, speech synthesis, and natural language processing. So initially I started with speech recognition during my college days in BTech itself. Then after that, when I moved to IIT Guwahati, there I was working on speaker recognition as well, and I've worked on many government projects, including in image processing as well, okay, in optical character recognition, where a lot of things involved are machine learning models only. So since that is like, even speech is like a sequence to sequence problem, and even in image processing, which I was working on, is sequence to sequence problem. The underlying model and my research experience on those models are the same. It's just that application which varies. Okay, here it is voice and there it's image. So
thanks.
Sure.
Thank you,
Mitesh, over to you for the last question.
Thanks, Madhavraj. I think like Kapil said, very, very complex solution, and I think there is great scope to delve deeper into this. And my only question is, don't you see competition coming in and heavyweights coming in over here with Alexa's and Google Assistant and Nikki.ai and Haptic, and there are quite a few players who have been in this space and dabbling with voice recognition and other related AI around this. So what's the differentiator for us over here? What is it that we are doing that others cannot do?
Yes, sir. Actually, I'll be a bit more elaborate in this. Okay, so the thing with, I mean, there are multiple players in this. Okay, but let's come to the big players. Okay, so Amazon and Google's. Okay, they, I mean, it's hard for them to cater to each and every business individually and to train them. That is why they acquire startups like us. Okay, so recently you might have heard that Slang Labs have been acquired by Google. I mean, Google had funded Slang Labs, and they Slang Labs are those people, okay, who cater to small businesses like this. Okay, so big players, I think, okay, for now, they just wanted to focus on developing their backend technology only, and maybe later, okay, after 10 years or so, 5 years or to 10 years, okay, they might do. But since we are catering to every business, okay, so we do that customization part, and that is where we come in. And if you think about the small players, okay, they don't have their own data collection pipeline. Okay, so they acquire data from other third-party resources and so on. Okay, but we have our own data collection pipeline to, and it is very cheap. Okay, my entire PhD thesis I have spent only 50,000 to collect data, and I've developed good ASRs when compared to the players in the market. And if you look at Diyantra Labs, okay, even I was the one who they have hired to as a consultant to develop their own ASRs and so on. Okay, so, and even Reverie wanted to acquire me and so on. Okay, immediately after my PhD. So people wanted the solution. So that is why I thought, okay, since I have relevant experience and so on, okay, so why don't I gather my own team members, and we can build ourselves everything at very cheap, and we can provide these services at a very cheaper rate with better accuracy than most of the players.
Thanks, Madhavraj. Thanks, and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Madhavraj. Such understated confidence in the ability of the technology that you have developed. That's really inspiring to hear. Dr. Pal, I'm afraid we do not have time for audience questions. I'm told that these questions will be shared with all the presenters separately over email. I would like to conclude the session by first thanking all the panel members for making the time. It was wonderful to have you all here and pose such relevant questions to the presenters. And looking at the kind of variety we saw in the applications and the kind of maturity these solutions had, it is very encouraging to know that academia is really pushing the envelope in AI innovation in the country, and we want to wish them all the success. And as part of this initiative, India AI will be arranging 2 industry connects with all the showcase, the use case owners here. And also 10,000 startups will be extending a bouquet of offerings that are available to the startups at their end. So thanks a lot. Over to you, Praveen.
Well, Asna, thank you. And, I'm sure all the startups and innovators are looking forward to those opportunities you outlined on behalf of India AI and 10,000 startups. So with that, we come to the end of day 1 of the Experience AI Summit 2021. What a day. There's so much to learn about, so many takeaways from the 4 sessions that we're covering a variety of topics. Gratitude to the experts and the speakers across all the sessions. We've had excellent attendance throughout the day. Thank you for tuning in to today's lineup of events. We appreciate the thoughtful questions that have come through from the audience, and this participation is really appreciated. What's best, we have just started. There are 3 more days of the summit that will keep you engrossed. In case you're interested, also curious to know, there is the agenda, which is available on the NASSCOM Experience AI Summit website. The website is www.nasscom.in/AI Summit. Day 2, that is tomorrow, will be about creating value with AI. The day commences at 2:30 p.m. And I can promise you that a stellar lineup of speakers awaits your presence. Make sure you log in tomorrow at 2:30. That's all for today. My name is Praveen, and I've been your host this morning. Stay safe. Goodbye.